Now, James and Rita, I'm delighted to have yet another fantastic Australian mum here to chat to us. Amanda Stoker, Senator Amanda Stoker, welcome back to Outsiders. How are you?
Hi, I'm well. Thanks for having me.
Happy Mother's Day, and I'm sure the kids are getting your wonderful Mother's Day lunch together. Did you get a brekkie in bed? That's the big question.
I not only got brekkie in bed, I got a beautiful handmade mug by my 4-year-old, this fabulous necklace, and I'm discharging all my commitments to wear them in public.
Fantastic. Love it. Excellent. Now, listen, big news, Jackie Trad. We heard the kind of popping of champagne corks all the way down here in New South Wales when Jackie Trad has walked the plank. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I wouldn't get too carried away with the celebrations just yet. Dodgy Jackie runs Queensland and Weak Anna is unable to or unwilling to do anything about it. I mean, if they'd had any courage and any integrity, any accountability, they would have done this last November when the matter came to light. Instead, they've allowed her months to get her ducks in a row, tidy up whatever evidence might be necessary. Then they have referred it to the CCC under the cover of COVID-19 when everybody is stressed and distracted. Those who like to watch, the political shows from the US would call that taking out the trash when nobody's looking. And they'll have it all tidied up and dusted by the time of the election. And this shows the kind of lousy protection racket that Weak Anna is running for Dodgy Jackie. It's not on, it's the latest in a series of problems that surround the integrity of Jackie Trad. And Labor just think one rule applies to them and another to the rest of the world. They'll throw the book at everyone else, but when it comes to disciplining their own for what are legitimate questions around integrity, they just pretend those rules don't apply to them. It is now at the point where the only way Queenslanders are going to get change is to do it at the ballot box. And everybody, I think, should be quite disturbed by the craven way in which this is being handled.
Rita.
I want to ask you about the Chinese communist regime fanboys within the Labor Party. Another New South Wales Labor MP has come out and said that China is our future. We've got to forget about our old alliance with the US. Tell us about what's happening within that party that this keeps happening. There's been a number of incidents now where Labor MPs seem to be unashamedly shouting their love of the Chinese regime.
It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, I think it reflects an effort that's been made by Labor over a longer period of time, curtailed more recently by changes requiring donations to come from Australians only. But there's been a real addiction to Chinese money in the Labor Party over time. That has built a belief that that's the way to go for them. But what's more concerning, I think, is that not only are these views held, but they're being held and concealed. Why was the tweet deleted shortly after it was posted? They clearly know there's some sensitivity around this and they're holding back and suppressing the beliefs they clearly hold. The other thing that should concern us about the way that this is going on is that they don't seem to appreciate in any measure how important it is that the people with whom, or the nations with whom Australia has its key strategic alliances, need to share our values. Now, if China shared our values, that wouldn't be a problem. But we need to have allies, both in the commercial space and in the political and defence space, who understand what we're about, who are happy to operate according to rules of honesty and decency and reliability, people who aren't going to steal our intellectual property, people who aren't going to threaten us with boycotts every time we mildly stand up for our own sovereignty. And we need to be dealing with people who we can trust to hold up their end of the bargain, whether that is in relation to public health or whether that is in relation to, for instance, environmental protection. China does neither. And so we need to, I think, be looking to a future in which we don't have too many eggs in a single basket, particularly when that basket doesn't seem to care at all for our values.
James.
I want to just shift gears a bit to the domestic economy now and ask you about your thoughts about all of these people who seem to be absolutely determined to hijack the coronavirus crisis to push their own agenda of environmentalism and essentially deindustrializing Australia. Point to a tweet from Quentin Dempster, which he said earlier this week. He said that the National Cabinet ought to be continued so that there is a ability for them to then stay on and decarbonize the economy and push renewables and all of that. But I'm seeing this more and more. What do you have to say about this effort to hijack this particular public health crisis and turn it into another sort of attempt to make Australia not a great exporter and user of our minerals, but rather a country that's dominated by very expensive and unreliable renewables?
Yeah, these poor environmental types. Now that itself is a misnomer because there's no evidence really to suggest that the things they advocate for would help our environment. But anyway, these types must have been struggling so much over the last month or two with their issue not being front of the agenda for just a few moments. And now they're bubbling back to the surface again with their insistence that everything we do be structured around their enthusiasm for climate change. But, I mean, the fact is this. The climate change agenda is deeply harmful to our economy. And we are at a point now where we cannot endure any more economic harm. Everything we do has to be about getting Australians back to work, helping make Australian businesses profitable. That means cheap, reliable energy. That means not having institutions like our banks and APRA pushing an environmental agenda that doesn't align with the ability to fund and get cheap energy projects off the ground. That means us having a sensible approach to productivity and the operation of the labour market. It means us working as hard as we can to get all cylinders firing, which means getting all the red tape that is used around the environment to slow our economy out of the way. So these people need to understand that now is neither the time nor the place for their agenda, and any good that has come out of the National Cabinet should not now be hijacked to give Australians another whack in the face who are already trying to recover from the economic impact of this.
Amanda, just a little bit of good news. I want to quiz you because you're in government. I was astonished to read that we are building an amazing piece of military equipment. It's a drone. To quote from the press release, Australia has unveiled an artificially intelligent drone designed to operate in swarms to overwhelm enemy defences, helping Western nations, and it goes on. It's called the Loyal Wingman. But Amanda, what puzzled me is why am I reading about this in the UK Times and why isn't it plastered all over the Australian media? Tell us what this thing is.
Look, it's a pretty impressive piece of machinery that highlights the depth of expertise and technological advancement that has been occurring in defence industries in Australia over recent years. There really is some great work going on. But I think that the government could be forgiven for not advertising its achievements there at this point in time because it is so very focused on helping Australians to get through the health and economic impacts of COVID-19. Australians would want the government to, instead of be trumpeting its achievements in that field at this moment in time, have every pair of eyes and every brain focused on helping get our economy back on track. There'll be more to hear and to discuss around some of these cool technologies down the track. But for now, I actually think it's a good thing that everyone in the government and indeed the media here have been focused on the crisis at hand.
Amanda, that's a very, very neat political response. Thank you very much. I would just like to say we know all about these bloody submarines, which are costing us a fortune. I'd like to hear a good news story on what we're capable of manufacturing. Who knew that we were capable of manufacturing such a great piece of equipment? Amanda Stoker, enjoy your Mother's Day. Thanks so much for coming on Outside. It's always great to have you here. Love the cup and the hello to the girls, and have a great lunch.
Thank you very much. Have a great day, guys.
Okie doke. Coming up.